Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This actual play is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Eclipse phase, 2nd edition rules by Posthuman Studios. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. Listeners should know that this podcast includes mature themes and scenes. And now, check your cortical stacks for proper alignment and prepare for some skin surfing. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. We bring you this special episode because we are going to play Eclipse phase. And I have assembled some of our cast members from both of our mainline storylines to attempt to have a little fun with transhumanity. So we'll do introductions, and so the players will let you know who they are, and they'll let you know who they're playing. So to my right.
This is Morgan. I'll be playing Kai. And I am just going to roll with the punches.
Yes. Kai, our mind hacker and networker. To Kai's right.
Hello, this is Mike, and I'll be playing the individual known as Zahiri.
Zahiri, our Brinker security specialist. At the end of the table.
Hi, this is Jake. I'll be playing Nijal, and I guess I'm playing the hacker artificial intelligence.
Yes, Nijal is a Titanian hacker, an infomorph. So you are a digital intelligence. You have slipped the bonds of flesh and now exist essentially wherever the mesh is. And last but most certainly not least.
Hi, I'm Miranda, and I will be playing Killjoy today, the anarchist troubleshooter fighting the power.
That's right. Anarchy with a capital A. And so we are playing All That Glitters. Our group of Firewall Agents have recently received a communication from Firewall, and that is they are to go to Profunda, which is a habitat on one of Saturn's moons, to engage and locate a piece of sensitive data. And so we'll open the scene at a rather seedy bar where Kai and Killjoy are preparing to meet their contact from an anarchist group on that habitat. So this bar is probably seen, well, it's likely never seen better days, let's be honest. This habitat, while Profunda is pretty well populated and also pretty well funded, it has its own layers and its own grit. So you guys are on one of the lower levels here. And Killjoy, you're not really sure if the tables here have ever been thoroughly cleaned. You doubt it, at least from the discoloration. But the drinks here are halfway decent, and your morph body seems to be able to stand up to whatever they're passing off as alcohol. There's a din of synthwave music playing in the background as some cracked neon and strange light show overhead tries to keep your attention while you wait for your contact.
Yeah, and Killjoy is drinking with their prehensile tail, because if you can't do that with it, I don't see the point in having one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keeps your hands free for other things.
I can think of another reason to have one.
Well, maybe just one other reason.
Maybe. Kai, this place is substandard as far as you're concerned. You get the callbacks to the, grunge of the Earth movement, but this is kind of passé. This is, quite frankly, beneath you to be here, but your concern, quite frankly, is, well, Killjoy talking to this contact you're supposed to meet. It's way better that you do the talking.
This place isn't too bad, eh?
This isn't what I'm used to on Mars.
Well, I've spent my time in worse places than this.
So, when's your contact gonna be here?
Well, it should be any minute, I would think. I mean, just relax, have another drink. No rush.
I have my barely touched drink in front of me. Because the glasses are probably not all that clean.
Probably not. So outside the bar, because the bar here is a little concerned about larger morphs, Zahiri, you're doing what you do best, which is staying away from people and keeping an eye on literally everything. Not far down the merchant row here, you see a morph moving through the crowd. They seem to be making a pretty direct line for the bar here.
Do I recognize this morph?
No, you don't recognize this morph. Shaved head, dark skin. They have a pretty dramatic red tattoo stamped into the side of their head. It's a pretty stout looking morph too. It's bipedal. The upper body seems to be outsized a bit. It's as if there's perhaps a bit of extra has been put into the upper body strength of this morph. Maybe they're a mining morph, but something about that doesn't completely click.
Am I aware that Killjoy, Kai are in this bar waiting to meet the contact?
Yeah, you've gotten the call up just like everybody else has from Firewall. You know you're going to pose as a team of people who can, quote, get things done for this anarchist that Killjoy is meeting. But the real reason you're needing this contact is because the team has been made aware by Firewall that there's a pretty exclusive show going on tonight. And not only do you have to be there, you've got a piece of information to make sure it stays secure.
So do I have a way of communicating with those who are in the bar?
You do. You've got a method of communication with them and with Najal, who is probably sitting in cyberspace above you or nearby somewhere. And that is, you have your own tactical network. And so not only do you have a tactical network, meaning you have a information and audio visual channel to all of your fellow Firewall Sentinels, but you've got the ability to communicate that basically at the speed of your brain power.
I will open a communications channel to the other members of the team. Good evening. Zahiri, I have information. There is a morph on their way to the bar where you are currently waiting for your contact. They seem to be moving with some urgency. I believe they may pose a threat. Sending visual data now. And I will tap in and broadcast a feed of what I'm observing in the street, or even a feed of the pre-recorded scene from a few moments ago.
Is this call just to Zahiri, or is it on the party line?
That's a good question.
So this would be a secure channel to just Killjoy and Najal and Kai.
Yeah, so the party line, got it.
Yeah.
Well, he might not be a threat. It could just be our contact.
Sending visual information now.
You get the visual, Killjoy, and that's definitely Bryce. Bryce is a anarchist here, or on Profunda, and you've been somewhat aware of their intentions. They're pretty concerned about something, some of the hypercorp movement here in the area, and so Firewall asked you to act as part of the team, so that way you can get access to whatever event you're supposed to go to.
Yeah, that's our guy.
Do you have visual identification of subject?
Well, I looked at the video feed you sent me, and that's the guy.
What is the name of this individual?
Bryce.
Bryce. Thank you.
Well, I guess we should, maybe we'll see, kind of follow his lead. If he wants to come over to us, that's great, but if he tries to find a more secluded spot in here, we can follow suit.
Do you require further backup, or are you comfortable with this individual, Bryce?
Yeah, I think we're probably fine. I don't think he's a threat. We've run in the same circles before, so.
Thank you. Noted. Bryce recorded as not a threat.
Probably a smart idea, given the fact that you're fairly well aware that Zahiri has, a railgun mounted on top of him. That said, the morph that you recognize as Bryce steps into the bar. He makes his way over, lumbering a little bit, like his upper body is maybe a little too large for the legs of the morph. And he looks at Kai for a second and then looks back at you and sits down. How we doing?
Not too bad, my man. Can I get you something to drink?
Nah, no time. There's no time for that. We got real shit going down.
Yeah, I gotcha. What's the gig?
So, from what I've heard, he looks back at Kai for a second and then looks back to you. You've got a crew here somewhere that can handle this sort of thing?
Yeah, they're about.
Okay, good. There's a party. The Planetary Consortium is involved. So you would know Planetary Consortium is a pretty important organization. There's something that we got to deal with at this location, this party. It's a ballroom. It's here on Profunda. People like me, of course, are not going to be invited for who knows what reason. But the event is being held by a design outfit, a morph design outfit, a group called Glitter Block. So they do a bunch of high-end stuff, tons of research and development work done into it. They own the location, the guards, the drones, the whole thing. They provide this party location, and then they invite the muckety mucks, he kind of half gestures at Kai, to come in and to spin their wares and to show off their stuff, right? Well, there's an ambassador coming there tonight. Bryce leans in a bit towards you, trying to not get swatted by your prehensile tail. And he's got a piece of information that we need. Bad. We're at a point now in this struggle here that either we have to have the information or we have to know that this ambassador is dealt with. We don't really have another choice.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm pretty sure my team can handle this.
So the thing is, this party is going to be filled with all sorts of security. And so my, the way we normally do things isn't necessarily going to be the easiest way. But that said, I know that your team is pretty diverse and you've got a lot of fingers in places. Maybe you could figure out a way to get the information out. And I've even got a little bonus for you right up front. He fishes into his pocket a card and then passes it over to you. It's maybe 2 inches by 3 inches. So that is a set of invitations.
Nice.
I did a little scoping on your team, just names, nothing more. And I got your names hacked into the party invitation list. So you'll be able to get in.
Well, it certainly does make our jobs a little bit easier.
A little bit, but this ambassador, El Ciado, the guy who's got this information, he is not going to be easy to get close to. You're going to have to get pretty creative. Now, the place it's being held at, I mentioned, this Glitter Block event place. It's a multi-story, multi-floor bar and habitat. It's got all sorts of crazy stuff in it. Any kind of drinks, any kind of drugs, any kind of people, you're going to find them there. And it's all going to be high-end stuff. The thing is, the party kicks off in about an hour. And it only goes for a couple of hours at most. You're going to have a limited time to get close to this ambassador and get what you need. Word is, he's got it uploaded into one of his data links inside his skull.
An hour? That's, that puts us in a time crunch.
It does, but he flips the card over. But you have a friend on the inside already. So he shows you a picture of a lady in an elegant white dress. This is Vox Maxine. Now, she's a socialite here and around. Maybe she's done a little drug dealing, whatever. She's really, really keyed in on all these people. Kai, at this point, when you see and hear Vox Maxine's name, you know pretty well that she has a ton of rep in the party scene. And if this is the kind of place that you're going to be going, you can't wait to get out of this bar because all of the high-end social folks will be there.
So she's involved with your gig?
Well, let's just say a long time ago, I did a favor for a friend, and I don't want to get into the details, but Maxine owes me one. And I just asked, unbeknownst to her, if she would, schmooze with you a little. It'll help the crowd accept you, that sort of thing.
All right.
Make no mistake, she's there to be seen. And that can be its own benefit as well.
When did you say this party started?
It's in about an hour. I'm not saying you have to show up on time. I mean, everybody loves a grand entrance, but you'll want to get moving at some point.
Yeah, we should probably get moving sooner rather than later, Killjoy.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
So high above this in digital space, Najal, you're taking a look at all of these different mesh IDs, all of these different morphs running around in the bar. The bar itself is pretty quiet as far as the mesh is concerned. There's not a whole lot of IDs in here. There's also not a whole lot of nodes or ports. You know that you've got a fellow teammate outside, Zahiri, who's got his morph, which is like some crazy mechanical crab tank thing, which is intriguing, but it's a little too physical for you. You'd rather be a little bit more liquid, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But you get a good view of the whole scene. And given the speakers and the other audio gear in the room, you're able to hear the whole conversation without even having to be there. So who wants a physical body anyway?
Right. I think I'm going to pay attention to what's going on in the mesh. Try to make sure there's not any surprises, anybody eavesdropping or, that kind of thing.
That's a good idea. Why don't you give me a perceive roll?
Percentage dice?
Yes, it's percentage dice. So your perceive is 60, so just give it a roll and roll under 60 for a success.
How's a 42?
So when you're looking around here in the mesh, it's pretty clear that none of your team has been tagged with anything. There doesn't seem anybody to be watching your team. But ever since this guy stepped in here, Bryce, the number of mesh IDs that are starting to pop up outside has doubled.
Can I tag them?
Yeah, absolutely.
And pass that information over to Zahiri.
So that's for you. That would be an InfoSec roll, at least with your tracker app to kind of get an idea of who they are.
20.
Okay, easily done. So Zahiri, you start getting an info stream from Najal. It looks like reconnaissance information on the mesh.
Good evening, Najal. I see you are passing information.
Yes, I thought you might keep an eye on these, see if something pops up on real space.
Thank you. I will observe the area. And can I see anything that relates to this information that I'm getting past, these digital IDs?
You can, if you'd like to make a perceive roll.
Absolutely. I have two numbers for my perceive. I have 50 and 60.
Because you're using this in the mesh, your perceive is going to be 50.
Okie dokie.
Physically, you have different sensors, so...
I rolled 59, unfortunately.
Okay. So, I think, though, given you're just basing this roll off of information that you're using from Najal to try to lock in. So that information is going to lend to your roll. So what I'll do is I'll give you a minor bonus to the roll. So that'll actually improve your skill to 60 and make that a success. It's a pretty good one, actually. So the information that Najal's passing you begin to lock into on the mesh. And you can see from your position that some of these are muses. So they're the smaller programs that could be set about to do any sort of thing. Could be scouting, it could be information gathering, but it also could mean that the party's been spotted.
Yeah. About how many of these are there?
It looks like there's about 3.
Thank you, Najal. I'm triangulating now. There appear to be 3 muses whose coordinates are those of the information that you have passed on to me. I believe there may be some potential here for an incursion into the bar area. I will inform the others.
Very good.
And I'll initiate a link with Killjoy and Chi.
Okay.
Killjoy, Chi,
Yeah.
Najal has passed me on some information. There appear to be 3 muses who are moving in on your position, and I believe that they may represent a threat.
Alright, thanks for the heads up. Maybe we can slip out the back.
Hey, Mike, can I take a closer look at these muses?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you can just float on over, or from your position where you're at. What would you like to ascertain about them?
Really, anything I get. If I can get an ID on them or a connection to whatever users are using them or something.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and make another infosec roll in an attempt to hone in on them.
That is a 4.
Oh, that's an excellent roll. So you spend a little time and you begin tracing where one of these muses has come from. And you begin seeing its mesh contact ID, and then it jump to another portion of the habitat here. Now, the important thing to remember about the habitat that you're in, about Profunda, is that it's one of the most prosperous non-Commonwealth habitats. All right, so it operates in an anarcho-capitalist society. Basically means that it runs on the extropian principles, right? There are no laws, only contracts. So there's no law against snooping on people, but there are contracts to enforce if you snoop in the wrong areas. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
Its shape is a beehive, right? It's the most common type of habitat in the belt. There are tunnels here burrowed into rock or ice, and those are often in the wake of mining or exploratory operations. These tunnels get converted into living spaces, either by fusing existing material or coating the walls with a sealant. It's what allows the mesh to exist here in some way. Chambers are dug out of the host object and internally sealed in the same manner. So access points on the surface are capped with airlocks. So you're basically in a big asteroid that's been hollowed out. The key thing here for everybody else that's important is that there is a microgravity here, which means gravity operates a little bit differently than you would normally expect, like on Earth or even on the moon. So you're a little floaty here, which we'll get into a little bit later. But Najal, you follow the pings on this mesh for quite a bit of distance as far as the habitat's concerned. And they arrive back at what appears to be an open cafe where there are literally 40,000 mesh IDs. So when you get back to it, when you hone in on it, you basically come to a wall of mesh IDs, and it begins spinning your senses in all sorts of directions.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to try to dive in and figure that out yet.
So in the bar, Bryce looks at Killjoy and says, I'm going to bounce.
Yeah, I don't blame you. We're getting out of here too.
He heads out the front door.
Mike, outside, can I keep on observing where these are headed for, and based on their trajectory, work out whether they're headed for the front of the building, back of the building?
Yeah, these muses look like they're stationary at the moment in mesh, so they're not moving anywhere.
All right, okay.
But critically, when Bryce swims out of the front door and then moves back down what we would call the street or the promenade here, back down the market line, they turn and begin bouncing after him. Not in a direct, aggressive manner, but they seem to be locked into him.
Okay, I'll initiate a connection with the others again on our secure channel. Good evening. The meshes that we observed seem to be honing in on the morph known as Bryce.
Oh, perfect.
As far as I can tell, they're following him.
No, I guess we don't have to worry about that then.
It's possible that they're working security for him. They go back to a mesh cafe.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you guys, but we got an hour before this party starts.
Do you have any further specifics on the party?
Yes, I do. I have a location. I even have invitations for us. That seems like this is a pretty classy affair. So I'm not sure if they're gonna let you in, Zahiri.
That's all right. Thank you for thinking of me.
Maybe we could put a bow tie on you or something.
And a top hat, because,
I do not believe a bow tie and a top hat would suit me.
Oh,
I'll
I think
teach-
it would.
Teach their own. Yeah, we have a location, a time. We need to get some information from an ambassador that goes by, was it El Ciado?
Yep. El Ciado.
And we also have a lady on the inside, at least to make us look good. Vox Maxine.
Do we think the ambassador is going to give up the data freely?
I guess it depends on what approach we take.
One moment, please. I will retrieve all the data that I can find on those two individuals.
Perfect. Thank you, Zahiri.
All right.
You're
so
welcome.
Zahiri, that for you, that is a that's a good question. Which skill would you like to use on that? Yeah, she doesn't really fall into his brinker interests.
No, she doesn't really, does she?
I mean, maybe.
I'm assuming neither of them do anyway. What does the skill kinesics cover? Sorry.
Oh, kinesis.
Kinesis.
Kinesis is the ability to study people's faces and determine their emotional and psychological waypoints.
Okay.
It's reading people.
Okay, I think seeing as I don't seem to have a skill that I can tell would directly be relevant for that, I'm going to pass this on to Najal and see if they can discern anything.
Yes.
Okay.
So I will do so.
So for Najal, it's going to be another InfoSec roll, most likely. You're just trying to obtain data,
Right.
so you're not really hacking anything. You're just trying to
That would
sniff
be
out some
an
information.
8.
That is also good. Very good. So Vox Maxine, she is a from what you read here and what you get on some of the forums and some of the other feed pages, she's a drug dealer, but she's a really nice one. It's not illegal on the this location on this. I won't say planet, but this Profunda. That's the name of the location. It's not illegal on Profunda to deal drugs. She just has to do it via contract. She deals in all manner of them. It looks like here that she's pretty professional. She cares a lot about her persona, so you would imagine that she's pretty well socially integrated here to the party scene, and she likely would weigh that over basically anything. Her reputation is her calling card.
Okay.
It's where she makes all of her money.
Got it. All right, I'll pass that along.
Okay. What about the El
The
Ciado?
ambassador.
That's a separate roll. And I'm going to give you a -10 to your InfoSec on this because he's an ambassador and the information's a little bit harder to obtain. So 70
Okay.
rather than 80.
Well, I got a 55.
Very good. So 55, that's a critical success. So if we look over here at the critical results, so you could, if you wanted to, actually, sorry, let me see here, 55. It's a superior success. Sorry, not a critical. 55, superior success. So you have the ability to be more exacting. It takes you a little less time potentially to get this information, or you could acquire information that's much more in-depth, or you can be more covert where you're pulling this information out. Which one would you like?
I want to go with more in-depth, I think.
More detailed information. All right, so Danzen El Ciado, they, them for you playing at home, is a consortium diplomat. El Ciado heads affairs involving Saturn for Hypercorp Council's diplomatic service. So they are a exceedingly powerful diplomat. They essentially control any of the fleet movements and transport movements around Saturn for the Hypercorp Council. Think of them like international trucking manager that manages what happens to the fleets.
Mm-hmm.
What you know about them with your superior success is they're known to be a little manipulative socially. They're not ruthless, though, as far as you're aware. They tend to take the long view on things. They're fairly confident. That's what they project. And given their position in the Hypercorp, they're likely to try to undermine outer system governments and powers. So there are governments and corporations that exist in the more outer expanses of the system. And those could be people much like Zahiri, who are brinkers, who don't want to have anything to do with the main system. They just want to live and exist on their own. Or they could be large-scale corporate entities that have bought out parts of moons and they're doing their own growing, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what you learn.
Okay. All right. I'll pass that information along. A little a file, a dossier, if you will.
Okay. So, Zahiri, you get some information back. While that's happening, Killjoy and Kai, where are you going?
Do we still need to go out the back door? I'm assuming not.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay.
So I guess out the front door to meet up with Zahiri.
Yeah, because they're still sitting out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I pushed my unfinished drink to the middle of the table.
I finished both of our drinks.
That's nice. At least we're not wasting any.
Yeah, and head outside.
You arrive in the part of the promenade here on Profunda, which is a little bit like walking out into a marketplace that is mostly surrounded and built into the interior of an asteroid. So there are buildings, there are markets and shops, much like any other sort of promenade might have, except that there's no sky, and up above it's all rock. And where some of the classier sections of Profunda have like AR and visuals, you can see different things other than asteroid rock. Down here, it's a little bit more granular reality.
I look around, assuming it's not difficult to spot a massive mechanical crab morph.
Not normally, no. Zahiri is not necessarily the best at disguising where they stand.
So Zahiri has taken the high ground, and as they observe you leaving the bar, you'll hear the mechanical whirring, pistons grinding, and pneumatics pumping, and this armored crab basically comes scaling down the side of a building, walks over to greet you. Hello, Killjoy.
Hey, Zahiri.
Hello, Chi.
Hello. I pat him on one of the mechanical arms.
It's like a pet now.
Nice to see you too.
Do we get to ride them? Because that's sweet.
We will
We gotta
charge into battle.
Are you tired?
No, not yet.
I have further information for you. Najal has procured additional information on the two subjects you requested. It seems Vox Maxine is a low-threat narcotics retailer. El Ciado is a high-level tactical specialist who projects the movement of power and profits from it.
What you're saying is that we should become buddies with Vox Maxine, and we might have to hold down the ambassador to get that information.
This is one approach that might be successful.
I might be able to sweet talk him into it, but we might need a backup plan.
Danson El Ciado is a very powerful individual.
And he seems to be well knowledgeable with the idea of sweet talking and manipulation, so that may be difficult.
So running another honeypot like we did on Gamma Mead probably is not going to work this time.
In these circumstances, I believe that strategy would be ineffectual.
Indeed.
Vox Maxine would appear to be the most pertinent point of entry.
To talk to the ambassador?
Possibly. She is friendly, and that might be to our advantage.
I mean, she does sell narcotics. That's my kind of friend.
Indeed. Najal, are you aware of any narcotic involvement of El Ciado? Are they a dealer? A consumer?
Not that I'm aware of. Hey, Mike, can I search and see if there's records of those two spending time together?
Yeah, it would probably take you a little bit of time to pull up that information.
Well, I can do that, right?
Yeah, it's something that you can't. I would say you would need to be able to locate either a feed. I guess you tell me where you're going to go for the information. Like, you're going to look through public feeds for that information to see if they've ever been noticed together?
Yeah, because I mean, she's basically an influencer, a public celebrity. So there's going to be plenty of video or pictures of her. See if there's any time that those two show up together more than casually.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead and get me an infosec roll.
22.
Okay. So how would you like to spend your superior success?
I think I would like to do an in-depth dive.
Just taking a few moments to do some scans of the social feeds here. She keeps a pretty steady presence on multiple social networks. You're fairly certain that she's connected to pretty much all of them in one way or another. Either they go to her because she has something that they want, or people come to her because she has something that they can get a hold of by multiple different avenues. But linking the two, after maybe a good 5-10 minutes of searching, becomes pretty much impossible. It doesn't seem that the ambassadors ever had any first linkage or even second or third linkage with Maxine. There isn't anything that ties them together. And if it does, then it's whitewashed off of any social feeds.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like those two have no real ties, as far as I can tell.
What is the strategy for this operation? Covert or full frontal assault?
Well, I think we're going to have difficulty being covert at this party. It sounded like Vox Maxine was there so that we could mingle and people would accept us. One of those hiding in plain sight deals.
Something of a mixture, because I don't think a full frontal assault is the way to go for this either.
And the information that we need to procure, this is within the cranial cavity of the ambassador?
I do believe so.
I hope you don't have to retrieve it from a different cavity.
So all we need is his head.
Yeah, I guess. Though, if we take his head, it might draw undue attention.
That's one way of saying it, yes.
How do you intend to procure the information from within his cranium without his noticing?
Well, if I'm correct, weren't there already some plans laid for getting the information from him, and he's just been dragging his feet, or did I misunderstand that?
No, as far as you've been told, because you have been listening to the bar, the summation that you got from Bryce was that his faction, the reason why they want the information taken, is that they feel like it's going to potentially upset the balance here with whatever information he has, whatever plot or plan is inside that ambassador's head. If he delivers it to the right or to the wrong people, it could be disastrous.
Okay. All right. So we're going to have to find a way to get him alone.
Interrogation, then, possibly.
I have a proposition.
Yeah, Zahiri.
Would it be possible to subdue the ambassador in some way and remove the information from his cranium without his knowledge? Perhaps an excess of alcoholic consumption.
Drugging, perhaps?
Yes. What are his tastes?
Well, I guess I could look for that. Let me think. Where would be the easiest place to get that information? Are there hotels, places like that around?
There are habitats where residents stay, but Profunda has hotels. They're just not on this level of the habitat. They'd be somewhere else. But they're not here down on the market level.
Right. I'm trying to think. Can I find a way where they procure supplies for his residence?
I mean, given that it's likely behind multiple layers of hypercorp security, you're talking about a long, slow, tough hack.
Okay. I was just wondering if maybe they just get their supplies from a local place, which would be easier to...
You would know, given that they deal specifically with the movement of fleet management, they probably have all of that in-house.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to see what he's going to drink at a party, you could just go to the party and see what he drinks.
Yeah, I guess that'd be the easiest place at this point.
Najal, I have a question. Were you able to ascertain any weaknesses that the ambassador might have that we could potentially exploit?
No, any of that information is kept pretty close to the chest. I wasn't able to get any of that without a deep dive.
Perhaps personal observation might reveal that kind of information.
Indeed.
Hey, Mike, since we're going to we have to go to this party sooner or later. Can I change my clothing to match whatever fashion is for the?
Absolutely. And you know what the great part about your setup is?
I have smart clothing.
That's right.
Do I have to roll for that?
You do not.
That's good.
How smart is my clothing?
Your clothing is smart, just in a different way, Zahiri. It's more mechanically smart.
That's not what I was thinking. So,
Again,
roll
hat.
for how smart your
Right.
your clothing is. You walk into a very upmarket affair dressed as a clown.
But yeah, Kai can absolutely change their clothing into whatever suits their tastes at the time, and that includes the cut and the form of it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I want to change it to something that matches whatever fashion is. I'm assuming I would have knowledge of that, so it would probably be a tighter cut than what they're wearing today.
Sure. You realize that the closer and closer then you get to what you think the party will probably want, the further and further you step away from being anything close to looking like you belong with the other three parts of your cadre.
Well, I too have smart clothing. And I just imagine watching Kai go through various outfits, and then I just try to keep up a little bit.
It's tough, and mostly that comes from the fact that Kai is a synth morph or a sylph morph, so they are naturally tailored to look even more elegant. You do your best to keep up.
Yeah.
And wear something that you think you like, but that you'll still fit in.
Like, kind of looks like it, but like different. Yeah.
Right.
That's what I was going for.
You get it.
All right, should we head to this party?
Yeah, maybe we'll get a better bearing while we're there as well.
I think we should touch base with Vox while we're there, and I mean, she might be able to slip something to the ambassador to make him more pliable.
How much information do we believe that Vox Maxine has on the ambassador? Would they perhaps know a little more about the peccadillos of the elite?
She would probably have quite a bit of information, I'm guessing.
Then perhaps she can provide us with same information regarding any cracks in the armor.
I believe you're probably right.
I must say, I do find your new attire most becoming.
I still think you need a top hat.
Do you think if I wore a top hat, I would be able to enter the party and join the festivities without standing out?
If you put it over your railgun on top of you.
What about a bow tie? And a monocle?
I think that would be awesome.
I do believe you are teasing me.
But he's got an invite to the party anyways, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
We'll all have one.
So you'll be able to get in. I don't think they're gonna stop you. You can't be the only crab spider thing that's going to be going to the party.
Remember, Profunda is a place where it runs on extropian principles, so there are no laws. only contracts. There's nothing inherently at issue with Zahiri and their morph. Now, obviously, if the railgun starts going off, there are contracts that will come into play from other people, but they're not going to bar them from the proceeding.
Will there be loud music at this party?
Do you like to dance?
I do like to dance.
Well, fantastic. There'll probably be loud music.
I will need a area of approximately 6 meter diameter, circumference 18.7 meters, in order to show you my moves.
Will Najal be able to join us? He'll be in the...
Yeah, and Najal will be in the mesh.
I'm sure I won't be the only one.
So should we go get our party on, or you probably won't be?
Nope. The party itself on Profunda, as was mentioned before to you, Killjoy, is sponsored by Glitterblock, which has a lot of high pinks and purple toned logos. Lots of glitter is spilled on the floor, on the walls, and much like we have all heard before, once you get some of it on you, it gets everywhere. And that's kind of the way Glitterblock advertises themselves, as an elite morph design outfit. So their morphs here, whether they be bipedal, whether they be any number of different types of forms of morphs, are all top of the line. It's like walking into a luxury dealership and getting to view the high-end model of everything. It goes without saying that there's a lot of hardware here on display. But there's no line to get in. It seems that the party opened early and that guests have been filing in fairly regularly. And so at the doors here, which are fitted into a wall of Profunda's thick rock, these doors are framed by flowing purple and white silk. There's a trace element here of Earth's Asian flares. You get a very Far East sort of vibe from the colors and the pergola that's been spun up outside. And then there's a long hallway you can see that extends inside. And there are multiple security morphs outside, each one in their own glitter block, tight-fitted shirt that are assisting partygoers entering.
You're saying a lot of, excuse me, I do beg your pardon. Did I stand on your foot?
Actually, Zahiri, most people give you a pretty wide break. You luckily don't have to say too many apologies or sorries. A few of people who don't get the point that you're an enormous crab until they do. Kai, are you making your way in first?
Sure.
This is your party scene. These are your people, and so I figured you might be a little eager.
Yeah, I'm looking for the nearest bar.
So the main dance floor is narrow and very long, and it makes up the main portion of the lower part of the club. Remember, this is a beehive habitat, and so things are built vertically quite often. And remember also that the gravity here is quite a bit less than you're used to on some of the other worlds you've been, and so you're a bit floaty here, much like you might be on Luna or the moon. The speaker framework on the main floor is built into the cavities and walls nearby, and so there aren't speaker towers or cabinets, but they're kind of tucked into every angle of the corner that they can fit them in. They're more clustered together, if that makes sense. The roof here, if that's what you can call it, the break between this level and the next, is so high that the club feels like it's an endless passageway. You can see as you enter, several partygoers are floating about the room. Some are fleeing themselves higher into different sections of the club, stopping at tables as they go up to chat or to drink. Techno, and there's some garage drum and bass are on auditory display here as the beats march with the tapping of Zahiri's crab-like feet.
Mike, can I? Would it be possible for Zahiri to send his muse before we enter the club out to some vantage point to observe and relay a visual feed?
Yeah, absolutely. Easily done.
Fantastic.
You want to have somebody watching the door. Makes sense.
Yep.
And to that end, Najal, you see an unending amount of muses flitting around outside. They look like fireflies on the mesh here. They're all over the place.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of them.
Why don't Kai and Killjoy... Actually, why don't everybody here give me a perceive roll?
So am I rolling this at my 50?
Actually, you'll roll it at 60 because it's a physical roll for you.
Okay.
Is it hearing based at all?
No, this is visual, so it's sight-based.
So just my regular perceivement.
66.
That's so bad.
Oh, that's not good, is it?
No, it is not.
67.
No,
Mine-
it is not. All right, 67 out of for Najal. Missed by 7. Okay. Gotcha.
And mine was an 87 against 70. So
Okay. Kai?
Oh, I have a 94 out of 60.
Okay.
I'm not perceiving
we're
anything.
just all really thrown off by this big party. The music is so loud.
Yeah, it's a lot to deal with, right?
Zahiri's too busy dancing.
So, Killjoy, you feel a hand just ever so slightly graze the top of your shoulder, your right shoulder.
Nah. Who is it? I turned to look.
You turn around and you see a morph with everything in the right place, if that's your thing.
Yeah.
Vox Maxine is quite good in digital display, and they are even better in person.
Yeah. Nice. Hi. Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening. Your Vox, yes?
Mm-hmm.
She nods, and you see a broad red smile come to elegant facial features.
Well, I'm Killjoy. We got, Chi, Zahari, Najal with me.
Are you enjoying yourself yet?
Oh yeah, the party's great. We just got here, but yeah, it's pretty great.
If you need anything else to assist with your enjoyment, I'm the one to speak with.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool. Yeah, we'll keep that in mind. You guys need anything? Chi, Zahari?
Actually, were we going to ask about the ambassador?
Oh yeah. Vox. Is the ambassador here yet?
Vox steps like another step closer to you and almost casually reaches for Kai's waist and kind of pulls the both of you a little closer. And you get this wash of perfume and maybe a tint of pheromone. And Vox says,
Now, let's be very careful about what names we use. Yes?
Yes.
she turns and looks at Kai.
Very careful. I like your outfit.
Thank you. I like yours as well.
One of many. Now, I am doing this little entrance for you to make sure everybody here knows that you're on the up and up. I don't have to introduce you to anyone, which is profitable for me, and all we have to do is share this little moment, and everyone else will assume that you're in. So let's not change that, shall we?
Yes, I apologize.
It's all right. Social faux pas are just something that I can't permit. You understand?
Of course.
Now, I would like you to enjoy the party. There are 2 other levels.
Points further up.
And so, if you decide to head further up to the green room, even into the womb, I can tell you that Glitterblock has a ton of fantastic things waiting for you.
Do you have a preference as to which room we should go to?
Oh, I am not one to pick someone's preferences. Seems a bit forward. But I would say that if you're the type of person who wants to be around for the big show, then the womb is where you'll want to be eventually. That's where Glitterblock's going to debut its new morphs tonight.
We'll make sure to be there.
Well,
She steps back, kind of into a more conversational, physical range.
I hope you enjoy yourselves. And again, if you have a hard time doing it, come see me.
We will.
Maxine steps away.
Yeah, that was about as informational as
Yeah, not quite what we were expecting.
felt like she wanted to swallow me.
I got that feeling as well. We were very close.
Very close. That was very intoxicating. So, yeah, maybe we need to look. Did we get a visual of what the ambassador looks like from the digging that Nijal did?
Yes. Yes, I will give you a picture of the ambassador. Kai, how are you handling the increased mesh presences here?
As well as can be expected.
Nijal, you're keeping your eyes and mesh ears open.
Yes, and I'm going to see if I can find the ambassador using whatever resources are about.
Okay. Not a bad idea. So if you will make me a perceive roll, given the fact that you're just looking, you're not hacking anything yet.
That is a 46.
Okay. So there seems to be an increased presence in the green room, which is one level up from you. And some of the mesh IDs there start tagging as pretty heavy consortium related tags.
Okay.
And so it's possible that there may be some hypercorp muckety mucks up there.
I'm getting some tags that look like maybe the green room, and the next level up is where we want to be.
All right. I grab a drink from the bar and start heading up to the green room. Killjoy, are you coming?
Of course. Yep.
So if you are going to go up, then I would like you to make a free fall roll. So free fall is a skill that gets used when you try to move in 0G.
Okay.
No?
85 against 50 is bad.
You couldn't even flip that roll with a pool point because it just become a 58, which would still be a failure. Okay, so
Yeah.
fair enough.
I'm thrown off too because I have prehensile limbs all over the place.
You just arms akimbo, you float over somewhere else. Let's see here.
If I notice that Killjoy is having some difficulties with the 0G, would it be possible for me to assist them?
Absolutely.
What are the walls of this club made of? Are they some sort of plaster material, or are they metallic? Or
Yeah, so they are a very smooth, sheened chrome. Seems like there's some sort of fabricated, either aluminum or metal in some regard. It's to give it a clean look. Now there are handholds every so often, and tables that you could spring yourself at to use as, a jumping off and or landing point. But the main section of this area is kind of just open wide as far as vertically goes.
Ah, right. Okay. So yeah. So there's no walls for me to use my magnetic system on to get.
No, I mean you could walk over.
advantage.
You could walk over to one of the walls themselves and utilize the magnetics and the morph and basically climb your way up.
Yeah. I mean, if I can get if that allows me to get closer to Killjoy to assist them, then I'll do that.
Yeah, you can go assist Killjoy, and then they can make another free fall roll with a +10 modifier because you're helping.
Okay, but I want you to know Killjoy hates it, so. But I did roll 19 under 50 now. But I'm really mad about it.
Perhaps you would care to ride on my back, Killjoy.
I guess. Just the gravity really throws me off around here.
I understand. It must be difficult. If there's anything else I can do to help, please let me know.
There isn't right now, thank you, though.
She says through gritted teeth. So, Najal, the best part for you for this is all you do is just float up in the mesh.
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
How did your roll end out, Kai?
I got a 9 out of, I think it was 40.
Nice. So you take to the zero-G pretty well, or the lesser gravity, and start flitting between tables. And so you all leave the main floor section here. So I'll give you a bit of an idea of coloration. And you can get the vertical look there. And so there are places that you can leap to and from as you go up through the levels of this place. When you arrive in the green room, or on the green level, as it were, you see mobile platforms that generate a constant sense of movement in the audience here. And so the hive here, this Profunda hive habitat bar that you're in, it expands out. It's no longer narrow and thin, so this is a much wider space. But visually, it is a bit erratic because of these mobile platforms, circular platforms that move in a circular or a counterclockwise fashion around the room, varying partygoers and wait staff back and forth. Each platform holds probably about 6 to 8 people in various states of pleasure and dancing. They all sway to a very dim and almost foreboding dark wave synth that's playing in the background here. You get a real goth feel as you come up into this space.
Can I adjust my auditory sensors so that I'm phasing out as much of this kind of background music as possible in order that anything that's actually said or spoken within the club is a little bit clearer to me?
I would say, yeah, you should be able to do that, given your gear and higher control over your auditory senses. You kind of dial it a bit. If you do use a bit of filtering, it won't necessarily be perfect, but you get a little bit better control over it.
Just adjust the EQ of the room a bit.
Yeah.
So do we see the ambassador up here?
Well, you're going to have to make a couple of perceive checks. So there is going to be a -20 penalty to the perceive here because of the crowd and of the environmentals. Very difficult to sort out who people are when there are so many people and they're all moving in different directions.
That'll be a no for me.
And an 83 is a hard no for me. I'm still really thrown off by Vox.
I got a 15.
I'll make another roll for this.
Yeah.
So this is a visual
It is.
perceive, so that's a 60 for me and a -20, yeah.
Yep, so 40 or lower.
47. I keep rolling just above.
All right. So Najal then is the only one who passes the test. So it takes you a good minute or two, Najal, and really, and all of you, to make this test as you begin hunting around this floor for the ambassador. But you get a fair idea, Najal, that you don't see the ambassador on this floor, but what you do see is potentially very useful. So here on this floor, you see another consortium agent. They're trying to hide themselves fairly well, but after a few careful rechecks at the muses that are nearby, you're fairly certain that this person, this somewhat ghostly image at the edge of the room, is another infomorph. And they're flagged up with a consortium tag.
Ooh, interesting.
Interesting, but as you would well know, also dangerous.
Yeah. So it looks like the consortium has an infomorph here.
That is not good.
Yeah, probably running interference and protection, I would assume.
Strategy?
Hey, Mike, can I get any information on this infomorph?
Well, if you give me a infosec roll, you could use it to potentially see if there's anything on the feeds out there that trip the things that they might have done.
All right. 49.
After a bit of looking, you think that this infomorph might be Kylo. You match up some of the former information you pulled from the feeds about the diplomat, and you see one instant of this ghostly infomorph nearby. And it's possible that this agent is some sort of overseer for the diplomat, like a direct mesh body protector.
Okay. Yeah. She's definitely running some security.
Will this be an impediment to the mission?
Well, it's not going to make it easy.
Suggestions? Killjoy? Chi?
Assuming we're gonna have to do a visual look for the ambassador.
Yeah, I don't see him on this floor.
So maybe he's in the womb. Or they're in the womb.
Most likely.
Then can we assume there's an infomorph on the on that floor as well?
I think it's possible that she's running it from here.
Did you see another infomorph on the lower level?
When he's Mike Jab, probably.
No, you didn't see anything on the lower level. You saw muses that were consortium tagged, some outside, some inside, but most of the ones that were inside had flooded to this level. So it's likely, as far as Najal is concerned, that there are probably folks who ally themselves with the consortium who have those muses running or have those tags available just to show their factioning. But in your mind, as somebody who deals in the mesh 24/7, her being on this floor and the ambassador not being here likely means that she is looking at someone or something. She's trying to ascertain a threat.
Okay.
The main stage here on the green room, that center of the green lights, it folds down. The lights come back down, and a rather stunning gentleman takes the stage. Pink suit, purple undershirt with a white tie. He introduces himself as the Great Andre, and he is from Glitterblock, and he is prepared to wow you with a little taste of some of the newest morphs that we have to offer. And so, descending from parts of the ceiling in this room, little pods begin opening up on the floor. And out of these pods spring small, floating pufferfish. They're probably about the size of a basketball. And you see them whir to life and begin moving about the crowd as they puff up and get large, and then use that to expel something from their hole and then move about the room as propulsion. So they kind of propel themselves as they breathe in and then propel themselves again as they breathe out. Out of the other pods here are a series of what you have heard about on some of the social feeds, Najal. These are spider gremlins. And so they look like bipedal, at least at the start, they look like bipedal gremlins. They're short. They're maybe no more than 2 or so feet tall. But as they get into their locomotions and begin moving around the crowd, spraying this glitter and other party effects into the air, they sprout 8 legs from their back, and then they use it to tumble around. And while this might seem humorous, the crowd takes it in, there's a lot of laughs, you can't really go without saying how much of a potential security risk it is now with all these new morphs running around the space.
Yeah. If somebody wanted to do something, now would be the time.
Kai, from your perspective, this is hilarious. This is like the perfect party gag.
Yeah, I'm drinking my drink and like swaying to the music and really enjoying myself. It's been a while since I've been to a good party.
A performance starts. Several multi-armed drummers with these large, round drum heads begin this elegant drum line on the main stage.
Hey, I'm still watching Kilo. Is she changing her demeanor at all?
She's moved. She floats into a different direction. As soon as these spider gremlins start up and they start really moving about the crowd and moving the people who are in it and jumping onto platforms, and some of them are leaping up and grabbing the puffers and then riding on the puffers to other places. She's moving. She seems to be going back up, or she seems to be going up to the next level.
All right, I'm going to follow at a discreet distance.
Okay. You feel like you're being pretty discreet. Zahiri, how are you taking all of the additional morphs in the room now?
I am trying to track them all and see if there are any patterns forming in the movements around the room. Aware that this is a distraction, and makes me a little bit uneasy.
Yeah, there's something about this that just doesn't sit right with you. Especially as far as the spider gremlins go, there are just too many movements. They move in too many different ways for you to properly track. And so even some of your tracking programs begin to have a hard time adjusting to all the new targets.
There is something unsettling about these morphs. I require more data.
I think there's a lot unsettling here. Killjoy's kind of put off by the opulence of everything.
Yeah. I mean, given the fact of where you just came from, the bar on the lower levels here, this is it's pretty posh, given everything you've seen.
Yeah.
Can I zero in on one of the morphs and attempt to get a better read on its construction and its mechanism?
Sure. So that would be, I'll call it a perceive roll, but I suppose, what are you attempting to ascertain about it specifically?
I'm attempting to ascertain how it's moving, the way it's moving, as much as anything else, and also if there are any other mechanisms in it, or I suppose if it seems to have another agenda, because it's clear to me that these aren't just entertainment; they aren't just dancing morphs. There's something else about them. I'm looking for. I suppose I'm looking for patterns as well. I want to try and see if I can figure out what the purpose of this morph is, why it's designed in this way, and how it's been designed in this way, how it's actually operating.
Why do you give me a security ops roll? It seems to me like you're trying to figure out what their specific purpose is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that is exactly what I'm trying to figure out. So I've got a 75 in security ops. That's a 0-2, which in another game would be very, very good.
In this one, it's good. It's just a success. It's not anything more than that. It's just a success. So you could use a pool point if you wanted. So you have several pools, but one of the pools that you have that you could bring to bear here would be an insight pool. And so you could choose to spend an insight pool and make that a superior success and thus gain more knowledge.
Yeah, I think I just have one insight pool.
You do?
So, yeah, I think I'll do that.
So, with the pool point spent and quite a bit of cognitive time spent on watching the patterns here, you become fairly certain, I would say within 60 to 72% certain, that These spider gremlins are working under a fork. So, the 8 of them that are out are being operated by the same person.
Right, okay.
In almost a concerning harmony.
So is this like a little bit like a remote control of the morph?
Yes, it means that there is definitely an ego in one of them, but the other 7 are being ridden by the same person.
All right, and so this would be obviously some person who's got a high degree of skill and ability to be able to mental ability to be able to control so precisely the movements of so many morphs at the one time.
Yeah, and likely some upgrades to that one morph to make sure that I can hold all that together.
That being the case, I'm going to see if I can ascertain which morph is the central one that's controlling the others.
Okay.
And I'll also pass this information on to the others.
Go ahead.
I have determined that these morphs are being controlled centrally. There is a single, more advanced, more specialized morph, in which resides the ego that is controlling all 8 of them. I am attempting to ascertain specifically which morph is the controller and which are the slaves.
Okay, so you're going to begin busily attempting to ascertain that. Nijal, you would know that it's likely to get a proper read on that, you're going to have to hack one of those things. That's really what
needs to happen.
Your wands. Yeah.
So visually, there's no difference between any of them then?
There's 0 difference between the 2.
Okay, got you.
You could look for tells, with certain movements, but to really be able to pinpoint which one is which.
Najal, would you be able to assist with...
Yes, let's see what I can do here.
Thank you.
Is it InfoSec?
It is.
That's a 49.
49 on InfoSec?
Yep.
You narrow the field. So you narrow it to 3 potential spider gremlins. And as they begin to reach back towards the center of the stage, they're each one carrying one of these puffers. They group together and they begin passing the puffers back and forth with one another. And this centralized location, almost campfire of green, that they have centered around, opens, and you see a large cylindrical tank come up. It's probably 4 meters tall, and it's probably 1.5 meters, maybe 2 meters wide. And every bell and red flag whistle in your head, Zahiri, begins to go off.
Well, I'll highlight the 3 that I've narrowed it down to Zahiri.
Alert. Something is untoward. This, whatever it is, I cannot discern. I am receiving mixed signals. Be aware.
You see the host, you see Andre step out from behind this curtain of light, and he goes over to the tank and he slaps this tank with the heavy left hand. Glitterblock is happy to announce the debut of its newest morph, which you will see and get a chance to ride for the first time tonight. He taps open and you see this massive gush of vapor expel out of the tank as these twin doors open in front of it. And a morph slithers out. Our Slitheroid is the newest series of security and combat morph that Glitterblock is announcing today. You see this massive creature. It has a upper body of a humanoid cased in armor, the massive head, 2 eyes, and this white skull plate that comes down in front of it. The lower half of the body is serpentine, thick and banded with armored pieces. And when it moves on the stage, it moves both with grace and with intent. And so it moves towards some of the crowd. And you can see the crowd move back because this thing is 10 feet tall. And it gets quite a roar of applause.
What are my senses telling me?
That it's a highly advanced morph. It's likely something you would have to really analyze to know exactly what it's capable of. But even here in the lighter gravity, this morph swims on the stage.
In comparison with other high-end morphs, how does it stand?
Equal to or greater than, most likely. At this point, Zahiri, your muse sends you a message. It's a data message.
Okay, I'll accept that.
It's a picture of an older man in a well-fitted uniform who is entering the facility. And you match the picture with your program in mere nanoseconds, and that is Ambassador Alciato.
Attention, target is entering the building.
And that is where I'm going to call this episode. So, come back next time while we wrap up all that glitters, and we'll see what our firewall agents what trouble they can get themselves into.